Hello YouTube, it's Carrie Ann. We are back with the second video or part 2 of the Nava Lapghan Crochet Along, and today we are going to be working on pattern number 2, which is this pattern right here in the Lapghan. Just want to give you a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So I just want to let you know that I am time stamping all of these videos. So in the last video, I went back and did timestamps, so you can move around the video pretty easily if you want to jump ahead to, row 4 or jump back to row 1. You'll be able to move around the video real easily. I'm going to do the same thing with this video, and the timestamps aren't hard to find. So if you look below this video, under the description, you will see the words show more. And if you click on show more, that will open up and you will see the timestamps, and you'll be able to move around the video, go back, go forward pretty easily to get to the parts of the pattern that you want to see with no problem. So I really want to make this easy for you guys. I know these videos can get a little long, and don't want you to have to fast forward or rewind to find the part that you're looking for. So hopefully this will make it easier for you. Also, I had a viewer ask a question on the last video. Rose asked how she can increase the size of the Lapghan. So last night I did a quick video on how to read the written pattern and how to read the grid, and I gave some information on how you could increase the size of the Lapghan if that is what you would like to do. So I'm going to link that video right here, so just click on that card there and you can go to that video if you're interested in making your Lapghan larger. So that being said, let's hop right into it. Let's start on our next pattern, which is pattern 2, and let's get into it. Okay, so here's where we left off on the last video. We finished our pattern 1, our foundation row in our pattern 1. For pattern 2, I'm switching up my pattern color. So for my color B, I'm using this red chili pepper color. If you want to know more about the yarn I'm using, it's in the description below. And going to continue my background color as the same color, and that's throughout the entire Lapghan, and that's this beige color. You will need your 5mm hook and a pair of scissors. So for pattern 2, here is your row right here. So if you're writing down each row, go ahead and write that down. For pattern 2, row 1, it's fairly simple. So we're starting with a border stitch. We're doing 2 single crochet stitches, and then 115 single crochet stitches, and then 2 single crochet stitches and a border stitch. So if you notice in the pattern, the first 3 stitches are not counted in the pattern, and the last 3 stitches are not counted in the pattern. Your pattern stitches are always in the parentheses, and if you have a repeat, you will see the repeat in the parentheses, and you'd repeat the stitches that are within those parentheses. So you're going to see that throughout the entire project, through every pattern from here on out. So let's go ahead and start with our border stitch. We're going to start by putting our hook under both loops of the first stitch, and we're going to pull up a loop. Here's a little tip for you. You want to make sure that you're using the right yarn when you do your border stitch, so that you don't want to pull your tail through. You want to move your tail out of the way. So you're using the right yarn. And we're going to yarn over, pull a loop through, tighten that up a little bit, and then going under the same, in the same stitch, under both loops, go ahead and pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through both loops, tighten that up a little bit, and that's your border stitch. So the rest of the row here, we're going to do the 2 single crochets. Your single crochets are always in the back loop of your stitch. So go ahead and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Do number 2 in the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then our pattern says single crochet 115 stitches. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to single crochet 115 stitches all the way down our row here. And before we really get into it, I would just like to take this moment to start this pattern out with some gratitude. So today, I am grateful for the shoes on my feet, the clothes on my back, and the roof over my head. I am grateful for the clean water that flows freely from my faucet and the food in my cupboards. I am grateful for all of my families and all of my friends. May they be blessed, healthy, and safe. And I am grateful for all of you, for you guys who are coming along on this crochet journey with me. May you all be blessed, healthy, and safe. So let's go ahead and just continue our single crochet stitches for 115, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Okay guys, I'm coming to the end of my row, and before I finish that up real quick question: what are you grateful for today? I try to make it a habit of listing at least 3 things I'm grateful for each day, at least once throughout my day. Let me know what you're grateful for. Post in the comments below. So I'm coming to the end here, and I've got, this is my 114th single crochet and my 115 single crochet. And then we're going to single crochet 2. 1 and 2, and we're going to do our ending border stitch. So here is our last stitch here. We're going to put our hook under both loops of that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we're going to cut our yarn as always, leaving a tail. And then we're going to take that tail, yarn over, and pull the yarn all the way through. Give it a gentle tug and tighten that up. So that is your first row of this pattern. Fairly simple. We're going to move on to row 2. If you want to, you can double check your stitches. Make sure you have the correct count. And let's go on to row 2. Okay, so here is your row 2. Go ahead and jot that down. Row 2 is very similar to row 1, except we're not doing single crochet stitches, we're doing double crochet stitches. So once again, we're going to start with our border stitch. Put your hook under both loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull that through, tighten that up, and then under the same stitch again, under both loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So the start of this row, it says do 2 double crochets, and here today we can see our stitches below really well on the camera. So we're going to do 2 double crochets. So here's your first stitch right here. So you're going to yarn over. Here's your stitch. You're going to drop down to the stitch below. Put your hook through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And now we're going to do our second double. So here's your next stitch here, and you're going to drop down to this stitch below. So you're going to do double crochets through this entire row until you get to the end to your border stitch. And this is where you're going to get your practice in with your double crochets. And if you look here, you can see those stitches below here. This is where you're putting your hook, and the stitches below your stitch. So we'll do one more here. Yarn over, drop down to the stitch below. You have 3 stitches on your hook, or loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And we'll go to the next one. Yarn over. Here's your next stitch here. Drop down to the stitch below. Put your hook through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You're going to be doing this all the way down this row. Take your time. You don't want to miss any stitches. So double check your work. You still need to have that same stitch count when you're done here. So I just want to see if I can show you. So here was my last stitch here. You see how that pulls up that loop there? And my next stitch is right next to it. So if you're new to this, just take your time. The more you do this, the more your eyes just line up to where you need to go. So with anything, practice is the key here. Oh, I'm going to start that one over because my hook got all messed up and I grabbed my tail. I'll do that again. So just work down your row. Like I said, take your time. And I will see you at the end of this row. Okay guys, so I'm coming to the end of this row 2, and I'm just going to finish up these few double crochet stitches here. I try to do this while I'm looking in the camera, which I think I'm getting better at watching what I'm doing through the camera. I've got 1 double crochet left. Oops. And we have our ending border stitch. Both loops. Pull the loop up, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. My scissors. Cut our yarn, leaving a tail. Yarn over, pull it all the way through and give it a tug. So this is your row 2, and this is what you should be looking at. You want to double check your work, make sure you didn't skip any stitches, and count your stitches. Make sure you still have the same number of stitches, especially if you're new to crochet. You always want to double check your work. It will pay off in the long run. You won't have to go back and redo anything. So you're probably wondering, why the heck did we do a row of red if we're just covering it up? Just to let you know, it's all about consistency. So our stitches are consistent throughout the pattern, so it looks nice and uniform. So that's why we did that. Technically, you could have used any color on this row 1 because it would have been just covered up, but for the purposes of consistency, we're just alternating our colors in each row. So that is your row 2, and we're going to go on. I just wanted to see if you can see this. So this is what your border stitches do. It gives you a nice clean edge on your border, so everything is uniform and neat. So that's why those border stitches are important, and they will play a part at the end of the project when you do the double border to hide your ends. So we are going to move on to row 3, which is very simple. It's just like row 1, except we're going to switch our colors. We're going to use our color A, which is our pattern color. And in my case, my pattern color is red. And let's go ahead. I'm going to put the row right here. Go ahead and write that down. So it's just like your row 1. Now I promise, stick with me. Things are going to get interesting in row 4. So let's just go ahead and start our row 1 with our border stitch. Yeah, my yarn split there, so we're going to start over. We're going to make sure we have a tail, and we're going to move it out of the way. Tighten it up. So there's our border stitch. And our row 3 is a border stitch, and we're going to single crochet all the way down this row. And always working in the back loop. Always working in the back loop for your single crochets. And go ahead and work this row all the way down to the end before you hit your border stitch. And I promise in our next row, row 4, things are going to get interesting. So I'll see you at the end of this row, which is row 3. Single crochets in the back loop all the way down the row. Okay, coming to the end of this row here. Just finishing up the single crochets. It's funny, it's really hard to do this while looking in the camera, but do what we can. And there's our last stitch, and then our border stitch. So that's the end of row 3. Just going to finish this up right here. So that's the end of row 3, and this is what you should be looking at here. So let's go ahead and move on to some more interesting things. So now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it. We're going to move on to row 4, and I'm going to put your row 4 right here. And as you can see, things are getting interesting. So let's go through it step by step. Okay, so we're moving on to row 4. And we're going to go ahead and start with our border stitch. So row 4, we're using color B, which is our color A, which is our background color. And I'm using this beige color. So we started with our border stitch, and our pattern says double crochet 2 stitches. There's 1. And 2. And then we're moving to the stitches that are in the bracket. And the stitches that are in the bracket are the stitches we are going to repeat throughout this row. So starting with the first 2 stitches, it says single crochet 1, double crochet 1. So there's 1 single and 1 double. The next 2 stitches series is single crochet 5, double crochet 4. There's 1 single, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, and now 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our next 2 stitches, single crochet 1, double crochet 4. So there's our 1 single crochet, now 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And our next, it says single crochet 5, double crochet 1. So 5 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 double. And then we end this with 1 single crochet. So that is our pattern stitches. So the stitches in the bracket, it says here at the end of this it's a repeat 5 times. So that was once. So now you need to repeat those series of stitches 4 more times. So go ahead and do that. This is what your pattern stitches should look like. And I will meet you at the end. Okay, so I have finished my 5th repeat of those series of stitches that are between the brackets. And a way that you can tell that you did your stitches correctly and your count is correct is that you'll have enough stitches at the end to finish how you started. So at the end of your row, you should have enough stitches for 2 doubles and 1 border stitch. So here was my last stitch here, and I do have enough stitches for 2 doubles and 1 border stitch. A note on the double crochets, I just wanted to let you guys know that this is also a little helpful hint here too. Your double crochets, you're always working into the same color. So you're never going to work a double crochet in the opposite color. So if you land on a stitch and you don't have, and you need to do a double crochet and it's not the same color, your count is off. So you need to double check what you're doing. So let's just finish up this row. So I'm going to do my 2 doubles and my border stitch. 1, and 2. And now we'll do our border stitch. And that is the end of row 4. So let's just cut our yarn here. And that's the end of row 4. So now you're beginning to see how we're going to be bringing up the pattern as we go through each row. So we're going to move on to row 5, and you're going to use color A, which is your pattern color. Nope. Why do I mix that up all the time? You're going to be using your color B, which is your pattern color, which is the red color. Color A is the background, color B is the pattern color. So yeah, let's move on to row 5. Okay guys, we're moving on to row 5 of this pattern, and we're going to use our color B, which is our pattern color. In my case, I'm using red for my pattern color. Here is the row right here, so go ahead and jot that down. I'll leave that up for a little bit, or you can pause the video to write it down. So once again, we're going to start the same way on every row, and we're going to start with our border stitch. Okay, and according to our pattern here, we're going to start with 2 single crochets. That's 1. And 2. And then after that, we begin with our series of stitches that we will repeat. Those are the stitches that are in between the brackets. And our first set of stitches, it's 1 double crochet, 2 single crochets. And right off the bat, I can tell I'm doing good because my double crochet is going to land into the same color that I'm working with, the red. So let's go ahead and do 1 double, 2 singles. 1 double. Oops. There's 1 single and 2 singles. Our next set of stitches is 4 double crochets, 4 single crochets. 4 doubles, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 singles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our next set of stitches, 1 double, 4 singles. 1 double, 4 singles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our next set of stitches is 4 doubles, 2 singles. 4 doubles, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this ends with 4 doubles and then 2 singles. 1, 2, and it ends with 1 double crochet. 1 double crochet. And those are our pattern stitches that we are repeating. So now we go back to the beginning of the stitches in the brackets, and you begin again with another double crochet. So you're going to repeat that. We've done one set of stitches already. We need to repeat that 4 more times. So I will see you at the end of this row, at the end of the 5th repeat. All right, guys, I finished my 5th repeat of those stitches that are in the bracket. And what's next, as you can tell, it ends with 2 singles and a border stitch. And I can tell that my stitch count is correct because I have just enough for 2 single crochets and a border stitch. So just a reminder, when you're working your double crochets are always being worked into the same color of the color row you're working with or the color of yarn you're working with. So let's go ahead and finish this up with 2 singles. And my border stitch, which always ends the same way, under both loops. Pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and we're gonna cut our yarn. And yarn over, pull your yarn all the way through, and give it a gentle tug. And that is where we're at right now, at finishing row 5. And that is what your repeat stitches should look like. So moving right along, we will move on to row 6. Okay, moving on to row 6. So here is our row 6 right here. So go ahead, if you need to, pause the video so you can write that down. In row 6, we're working with our background color, which is color A. And in this case, I'm still using the same beige color for my background. And as always, we're going to start with our beginning border stitch. And then in this row, we're doing 2 double crochets after our border stitch. So there's 1. And 2. And then after that, we're moving into our set of stitches that will be our repeat. So the first set in our repeat is 2 singles and 1 double. One, 2 singles, and then 1 double. Our next set of stitches, 4 singles, 2 doubles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 singles, 2 doubles. 1, 2. Our next set of stitches, 5 singles, 2 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, and now 2 doubles. 1, 2. Our next set is 4 singles, 1 double. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one double. And then we end with 2 single crochets. One, 2. And those are our pattern stitches. And we need to repeat that 4 more times. So I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay guys, just finishing up my 5th repeat on row 6, and I've come to the end of my row, finished my 5th repeat, and once again we are ending this row with 2 doubles and a border stitch, and you can see that I do have a right number of stitch count because here are my 2 doubles and there is my border stitch. So we're going to go ahead and finish that up. There's 1 double. And 2 doubles and our border stitch. And we're gonna, once again, I hope this isn't getting too boring for you guys, we are gonna cut the yarn over, pull it through, tighten stitch. So that is row 6 of this pattern, and this is how your piece should be looking. And I'm going to wrap up this video with row 7, which means we are halfway through this pattern. This pattern has 14 rows. So we're going to do 1 more row today, and then later in the week I will post another video finishing up the 7 remaining rows. So let's go ahead and do our row 7. Okay, we're going to begin row 7. Here is your row instruction right here. Take a moment to pause the video, maybe jot that down in your notebook. And we are, of course, going to start our row. We are using color B, which is our pattern color. In my case, I'm using red. And we're going to start with our border stitch. Remember, every row begins with a border stitch and ends with a border stitch. After our border stitch, we have 2 single crochets. Single crochets are worked in the back loop. That's 1 and 2. And then we move into our repeat stitches. So our first set of stitches is 1 single and 1 double. 1 single, 1 double. And our next set of stitches is 2 singles, 3 doubles. That's 1, 2 singles, and then 3 doubles. Our double crochets are always worked into the same color as the color of yarn we're working with. It's 1, 2, and 3. Our next set of stitches is 2 singles. Oh, my yarn's getting tangled up. 2 singles and 1 double. 2 singles and 1 double. Our next set of stitches is 3 single crochets and 1 double crochet. 1, 2, 3 singles and 1 double. Our next set of stitches is 2 singles and 3 doubles. 1, 2 singles, 3 doubles. 1, 2, and 3. And our next set of stitches is 2 singles and 1 double. 1, 2 singles, 1 double. And our next set of stitch, well, it's just ending with a single crochet stitch, which is right there. And then we move back to the beginning of those stitches between the brackets. And we've already done them 1 time, so we need to repeat those stitches 4 more times. And go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay guys, I've come to the end of my 5th repeat on row 7, and I should have enough stitches left to do 2 single crochets and a border stitch. And if we look, I have exactly that. So we're gonna do 2 singles, 1, 2, and our border stitch. So that is the end of row 7, and I'm going to end the video here. I don't want it to get horribly too long. It's already too long already, I'm sure. But please remember that everything is time stamped. So if you go into the description below, you'll be able to move around the video. What happened there? Oh, yarn didn't cut all the way. There we go. Anyway, as I said, everything's time stamped in the description, so you can move around the video quickly and easily if you need to go back to some steps. And this is what we ended up with today. So this is pattern 2 of the Nava Lapghan, rows 1 through 7. The next video we will finish up this pattern, rows 8 through 14. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear about how your project is going. If you have any questions, post in the comments below. I will respond to your questions. If you want to list your gratitude, I would love to see your gratitude as well, if that's something you want to share with us. And I'll see you guys later in the week. I'll get the next video up as soon as I have time. It is Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. I start my work week, so you should see it shortly. Thanks for following along. Thanks for coming along. And like I said, if you have questions, post in the comments. Thanks, guys. See you soon.